everybody, welcome to Bones Collector. This is a video series where Lori and I are taking the time to play through our library 2 or 3 games at a time and then making a video. We want to do that so that we can show you the games all set up so you can get an idea about what is in the box, and then I can tell you how to play the game in a little more detail. We seem like a really groovy idea because that's the only kind of ideas we have, groovy, because we're groovy people. But we hope you enjoy this series, and I'm always telling you that we play our library, and that's what I wanted to show you and why I wanted to make this video series. So I hope you enjoy it. Hey everybody, how you doing? And we just got done playing Patchwork a couple of times, Lori and I. She won one and I won one. That's the way it should be. We had a great time. And Patchwork is a game that came out in 2014. It was designed by Uwe Rosenberg. It's a 2-player only game and has a Christmas theme to it. And Patchwork has many iterations. I mean, there's Patchwork Halloween, I think Americana, regular Patchwork, Valentine's Day. I think there's a winner, maybe Patchwork winner. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of them. Because it's such a popular game, they can retheme it and people find one that they fancy and go out and buy the game because it's a tremendous game. Currently this game is number 26 in my Ultimate Top 100 for a good reason. It is just an excellent, fun little puzzle to solve every time you play it. And I like the holidays. When they came out with the Christmas edition, that's the one I went after, and I really enjoy it. And then this game is a tile drafting, tile placement, and grid coverage game. And this is what your board will look like. And as you can see, it has a gold outline to this board, and the other one has a silver outline, and that's the 2-player colors that you're going to use here, silver and gold. Silver and gold, silver and gold. That's right. It's a holiday edition, so I thought I'd entertain you. Yeah, you're going to simply be moving on this board here and getting certain things, and at the same time, you're going to be thinking about what tiles you want to draft here in the middle. And this looks very small. This isn't all the tiles. Once you begin the game and you have all the tiles out here, there's a lot of tiles. But I have them on my board right here, a bunch of them, because I wanted to show you it's the first time I ever covered the whole grid. It just worked out wonderfully for me, and I'm so proud of that. I wanted to show it before I did this. There we go. Yeah, so I dumped them all. Also on this grid, you're going to have these little gifts you can get, little presents, and those are your onesies because you're going to have places on your board that you're going to want to cover with one square that happens. If you haven't played this game, I mean, it's so popular. I imagine most of you have played this game, and it's one of, again, my favorite game by Uwe. I think it's the highest rated game by Uwe Rosenberg that I have. Because, and let me tell you something, that why I love this game so much, or just give you an example of Uwe Rosenberg's library. He has a tremendous library of games, and he's a great board game designer. But I have played and gotten rid of the following games by Uwe Rosenberg: Caverna the Cave Farmers, Feast for Odin, Agricola, Fields of Arle, Glass Road, Ora et Labora, Le Havre, Newsfjord, Gates of Loyang. And I spent many hours playing those games, and they were wonderful games. But they were just a little bit more game than Lori and I like to play. We like things like this. And the ones that I do have by Uwe Rosenberg that in my library right now are Patchwork Christmas, Nova Luna. If you haven't played Nova Luna, it's fantastic. Agricola, All Creatures Big and Small, big box edition. Cottage Garden, Caverna, Cave vs. Cave, big box edition, and Mercator. And those are the games that we kept by Uwe because they play quicker. You know, when we sit down to play, like we just sat down and played this 2 times in probably 40 minutes. And you can play this game 3 times in an hour. And it's a fun puzzle to solve. It's just such a good time to get this game out and play it. And you just, once you play it one time, you want to play it again and play it again, and that's what makes board gaming fun, when you have that kind of drive once you play one of these games to go out and do it again. So in Patchwork, you're simply going to draft these tiles, and this little wooden Christmas tree comes with it, and it's going to set actually by this tile. Yeah. So this little is your starting tile, and it goes right behind the Christmas tree. And then you can select from the first 3 tiles in the row, in that big circle of tiles. If it's your player turn, you get to select one of these. You start out with 5 of these buttons, and I'll put these over here. So you start out with 5 buttons each, and you have to purchase those tiles that you see. So this one is 2 buttons, this one is 8 buttons, and this one's 3 buttons. So this person, whoever's turn it is, if it was Lori's turn, she would select one of these tiles. Well, she can't afford the one for 8, so her choice would be the one for 2 or the one for 3 buttons. And then also on every tile, it has a time, a little hourglass, and that's how much time you're going to spend when you take that tile and purchase that tile. So in this instance, if Lori wanted to purchase this tile and put it on her board for 2 buttons, she'd spend 2 buttons and spend 1 time. She's the gold player, so she'd move 1 space. Every space is 1 time. So that's the way this works. And once you cross one of these buttons that's on the board, then you get paid by the number of buttons that's on your puzzle board or your grid. And then also when you pass over one of these gifts, you pick that up and make it part of your grid also. And you have to place it immediately. And then at the end of the game, once you have all your tiles on your grid, all the squares that you don't cover, all the empty squares are -2 points. And Uwe's used that mechanism quite a bit in his games. And Feast for Odin, he did it in that one. But yeah, so every one of these squares you don't cover is -2 points at the end of the game. And that is Patchwork. You got a little bonus tile here. First one to make a 7x7 coverage on their grid board gets that for 7 bonus points, and that's pretty cool. And that's all there is to it, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just a wonderful little puzzle to solve. You can play it very quickly, and as you're going through trying to decide, I mean, the decisions are pretty juicy in here. You know, you have to look at what kind of shapes are available, you know, what kind of space is available to you on this while you're covering this grid, and decide, can I afford that particular tile? And then if I don't have any money, you take your marker. Let's say these markers were like this, and the silver player didn't have any money. They would simply go 1, 2. You move up to the front of the line, and you take the amount of buttons that you moved. So that would be 2 buttons, plus you cross a button, so you'd get the buttons that are on your grid. But if you were in the back like this, let's say you had no money, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'd get 4 buttons. And that would be your currency for the next turn. And that's your turn. If you don't have any money, you do that. And sometimes it may behoove you to do that anyways. If there's a particular tile that you want to get and you don't want your opponent to get it, you may do that instead of taking a tile and letting them get closer to that tile you want. Just keep them away from it. And then the next turn, of course, it would be your tile to take. So those types of things come into play. And it's so much fun to sit here and figure out that puzzle. And it turns out different every time you play it. And you can use a different strategy every time you play it. And I think the first game we played, Lori won because she just was able to take some of these tiles. If you take the ones like this one, for instance, that only spends 1 time. Well, if you're in the back here and you only spend 1 time and take this tile, you get another turn. It's just like Thebes that we did in the last video. If you're in the back, it's your turn. And if you're on top, it's your turn. So you can take as many turns as you can. So when you're selecting the tile, that's another thing that you want to think about. You know, do I want this tile with 3 buttons on it? Like this one here, it's 5 time. 5 time you got to move. So when you move 5 time, that other player is going to get another turn or 2. Maybe. I mean, they might get 3 turns out of that, depending on where they were on the board. But yeah, those types of things you have to think about. And man, I tell you what, you want to choose. Sometimes you want some of these because if you take this tile, for instance, it's got 3 buttons on it. So every time you cross a button on the board, you're going to get 3 buttons just for that one tile. But you get all the buttons on your grid, and that's what you're trying to do, because the most buttons at the end of the game wins. And that is Patchwork. I mean, it's for a simple game. It is just so much fun. If you like Aqualin, or what else I got sitting over there? Cottage Garden by Uwe. I love that game. Whatnot Cabinet, if you've played that. Mandala, that game is very, it's not as similar in style as far as the design, but that kind of weight and activity. So you're going to be able to play it quickly and think pretty hard, trying to solve that puzzle. and then do it again. I mean, so it's just that kind of game where you'll play it over and over again, and I love it. Obviously, it's like I say, it's number 26, my Ultimate Top 100. It's the best game by Uwe Rosenberg I've ever played, and I've just listed a whole bunch of them that I played, and this is my favorite, and that's Patchwork Christmas. Hey everybody, so we just got done playing Tang Garden. Tang Garden is a 2020 title, 1 to 4 players, is designed by Francesco Testini and Pierluca Zizzi. Francesco Testini worked on a game called Xi'an that we've played. It's about the Chinese Terracotta Army, and it was a very good game. We had that for a while and moved it on, but it was very good. And the other designer, Pierluca Zizzi, was a collaborator on Signore. And Signore, by What's Your Game, was the publishing company. Excellent game. We liked that a lot, but we currently don't have that in our library anymore. But those were 2 other good games that these designers had an input in helping get those designs out. But yeah, those are excellent games. This is an excellent game. The art is by Matthew Mezak, and I want to mention that because it is really, really, no, not Matt, oh, it says Matus Mezak, but I have written Matthew.
Well, Matus is probably Matthew in our language.
So anyways, yeah, the publishing company is Thundergriff Games, and thicker than normal box, which I appreciate. Thank you, Thundergriff. And it comes with a plastic insert that does hold everything. It's a little bit of a puzzle to put it in there, but it will all go in eventually. I'm sure you can find somebody on YouTube to show you how to do it, but it will all go in there. And I appreciate that insert also. Now, Tang Garden is a tile laying, tile placement game, and it is probably the most beautiful board game in our library for sure. It is just gorgeous. When I get done playing this game, I just want to leave it set up for a few days so that I can see what the finished product looked like. And man, I tell you, it is just absolutely, and we have, on top of that, it's a great game. So, I mean, you can't ask for much more than that, folks. It plays well at 2. We have played this probably 5 times. Yeah, we've played this game 5 times. We did sell it and got it back. I don't know why I did that. We sold it after we'd played it 3 times, and it didn't take me very long at all. One day I told Laura, hey, you got to get Tang Garden back because I just really enjoy that game, and I don't know what possessed me at that particular time to get rid of it. But we were able to get it back, thank goodness. It's not like this is some kind of a deluxe edition. This is just the regular retail edition that anybody can go buy. So I really appreciate that. It has some wonderful pieces in it. Well, these pavilions that you place are quite beautiful. These bridges that you place are very pretty. And then you have flower and fish tokens that you're going to put on the board. And then these beautiful landscape tiles, 2 different sizes. And they give that board a 3D effect, which I really, really enjoy. And they're beautiful too. I mean, they're just beautiful to look at. Then you have a lot of character cards that are in the game, and just so much to enjoy, and a little miniature for each character, and you're going to place those on the board, so that's pretty cool. But this game is driven by 4 stacks of tiles that are in the corners of the board. And this is a tile placement game, like I said before. It uses line of sight for some of the scoring. It has a set collection element going on when you're using the decoration deck. And I tell you what, there's only 2 things you do on your turn. You're going to either build the garden, I think it's called, you're building the garden, so you're going to select one of these 4 tiles to place in the garden, or you're going to place a decoration. And that's using this deck of cards over here. And those are the 2 main actions. There are some optional actions also that can happen, but it has to be triggered by other things. But just those 2 actions will have some very, very nice choices and interesting decisions to make during the game. And I tell you what, it's just outstanding when you're going to place one of these tiles. And the tiles are beautiful. They're very pretty. And you're going to place these in the garden, and you score prestige points when you do that, or can score prestige points, or you're trying to, and the most prestige wins the game. Oh yeah, and also I wanted to mention there are variable player powers, because you start out the game with 1 character, and each character card has a special benefit on it that's yours to use until you play that character in the garden. Once that happens, you no longer get that benefit. So you have that benefit at your disposal, and then once you place that character in the garden, you'll have another character in front of you, and that character's power will be available to you at that point. So it's kind of a timing thing. If you're trying to, like this architect person, every time, this is my character, and every time I placed a pavilion or a bridge, I got $2 or 2 prestige. It's 2 money, whatever way you want to look at it. And that's outstanding. So I want to do that a few times before I place this character. Plus, you can't place a character until you trigger it with your player board. Let me take these tokens. Oops. And show you this player board. And at the top, it has a square with a character in it, the picture of a person, and all 3 of them have to make it to that column in order to be able to place that character in the garden. And then once you place that character in the garden, you take another one and put that character in front of you. Then also you can see there's some other benefits. If once you hit this column with the 2 on it, you get 2 prestige or $2. And then if you get all the way to the end, you get 5. Which I did not even do this game. Did you do it? No, I didn't do it either. I didn't make it to the number 5 column. I did yesterday, but I did a lot worse at the game. We tied yesterday when we played this game, and then today it was a little different story, but it was an excellent, excellent time both times. Then also on your player board, you have 4 lantern tokens, and each one of these give you a special benefit where you're taking your turn, like playing 2 decoration cards, playing 2 tiles on one turn, selecting a landscape tile at random because they're in piles, so you're going to have 2 face-up tiles for each size of landscape tile available to you. But if it doesn't have an icon on it you're looking for, that can be frustrating, and you can play your token and pick the tile you want out of there and place that because it's a line of sight thing, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And then once you use these, you turn them over and it's not available to you again unless you pay 4 landscape tokens, which I did, to turn one of those back over. And you get those landscape tokens by placing tiles on the board because they're laying all over the board. So again, there's so much to think about when you're making your mind up about those 2 things you want to do, those 2 main actions. Do I want to build the garden, or do I want to place a decoration? Because when I take these decoration cards, you draw 2 plus however many face down tiles there are on the stacks. So if there's 2 of these stacks that have the tiles face down, then you're going to draw 2 cards plus 2, so you get 4 of them. And you're going to pick one, unless of course you use your lantern token, you can pick 2 of them, but you're going to pick one and put it in a tableau in front of you. And it's a set collection element to that's where this starts. So in other words, these peonies and lotus cards give me 6 points every time I pair them up. The birds and fish cards give me 6 points every time I pair them up, or nothing. So if you place a bird card down and never go get a fish card, you get nothing. So that's pretty interesting. Plus on these cards, it may have a little benefit also on the card that will make you, it will influence your decision as to which card you want to choose out of the 4 you took out of the deck. In this instance, it has a green square. That means that green element on my player board, I can move that up one by using that card and playing that card. And then also these pavilion cards, this is a first and second place type of thing. The person that has the most pavilion cards gets 12 points, the second place gets 6 points. So you want to have at least one, because if you don't have a pavilion card in your possession, the other player does, then they're going to get 12 points. You're not going to get any in that. That's pretty hurtful. And then also part of the set collection are trees, and on the tree cards, and Lori had them over here, you get points for unequal trees. So in other words, she has a pine, a magnolia tree, and a wisteria tree, and on the card it tells you that if you have 3 unequal trees, you're going to get 9 points. If you manage to get 5, man, that's 25 points. I don't know if, once I started this, I don't know if I wouldn't go after that huge. Because 25 points in this game, that's a big deal.
Well, I got the 4th tree, but I couldn't place it.
Oh,
there has
yeah.
to be a place to put it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, so anyway, so you're collecting these decoration cards, but just because you take those cards and you want to play them, the you have to have a place on the board to put them. So these pavilion cards go on a certain icon on the board that are on the tiles. So you have to have that available to you. If you draw these cards and the space isn't available to you, tough luck, man.
Which I did.
Yeah, you just can't place it, and that can be pretty painful. And then also, I mean, even the peonies and lotus pairs I talked about, you have these little tokens, and if you can't place that token on a space on the board, then you just have to discard it without getting anything. Same with the bridge, same with all this stuff. These decoration cards, you have to have a place to put the decoration. So when you're going to that deck to try to get decoration cards, you better look at the board and see if indeed that space is available to you to put that decoration on the board. So you have to think about that the whole time. That's what drives you to build the garden. But you don't want to build the garden too fast, because once you get all these landscape tokens picked up, when you get down to 3, it triggers the end of the game. And you're kind of wondering, how good am I doing? You know, should I take a little bit more time and place some other tokens on here? Or you look at what you're trying to do. Hey, I need to place another character. I need to place this character. It's going to give me 6 points at the end of the game for every time they face every time they face these terrain icons. It's going to give me 6 points. That's huge. I got to get this person on the board, but guess what? There's no place to put them. So you're going to have to try to manipulate the garden tiles, get something out there where you can put a character. I mean, it's just, again, it's a medium complexity game, but there's plenty to think about in this game to make it so much fun to play and to enjoy the beauty of this game. As I said before, it's just the type of game where sometimes I just sit and look at it. It's so pretty. And then these pavilions, you know, they got character spaces on them. So you place your character in there, and then you got to pay attention which way they face. Like, this is the Emperor, and the Emperor was my guy, one of my characters, and it says for every dragon icon the Emperor can see, I get 5 points. Well, this landscape over here has 2 dragon icons on the large landscape tiles. He can see, he's looking this direction, so that was 10 points, and that was huge. So when you're placing those guys out there, you have to think about that, and it tells you on the card what icons they need to see, and that's the line of sight part of this game. When you're putting your characters on the board, you can see them on the bridges here. They're like, this guy was the architect. He's facing this landscape, and he wanted to face 2 construction icons, and they're color coded. So I can see that there's 2 yellow icons over here, and that's the ones he wants to face. So I got 2 credit for 2 of those. I think it was, yeah, $3 for each. That's 6 prestige I got. And so you're thinking about that. You're thinking about where you want to place tiles, because when you place these tiles on the board, when you connect the footpath, which is the stone gray footpaths on the tiles, when you place that, for every time you touch another footpath, you get $1 for each one of those. Then if you enclose a terrain, there's 3 terrain elements. There's water, greenery, and then rock. And when you connect those elements and close them up, you can move your element markers 2 spaces. And then some of the tiles have a red wall on them, and they can actually close in terrains, any kind of terrain that you put it against, and you can score by closing off that terrain. And then also they're in each of the stacks, each one of these 4 element stacks, and one is a yin yang where it's mixed. It's a mixed bag, but you have these special tiles, and they can go anywhere on the board, and they score pretty nicely. If you use them correctly, you can place them in a spot that's maybe has 3 walls that you're closing up. You can close in 3 types of terrain and move it, each one of your elements 1 space if you got the right spot on the board. So a lot of stuff like that can really happen and really go on. So there's so much to think about when you're placing these tiles. It's an excellent tile placement game. It has all the elements that you would want when you're playing a fun board game. Enough to think about, enough different ways to score points or prestige or money or whatever. And I tell you, that's the whole point of this game, is to just have a good time. And on top of that, it's one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. it's probably the prettiest board game I've ever seen. I can't think of another game that I would say was prettier than this game. And again, once you get done playing it, you just want to look at it or leave it set up for a day or two if you don't have a rowdy cat, and just look at it because it's really, really pretty. So, what else? Decoration deck, talk about the characters, talk about the landscape tokens. Okay, I guess that's it. You know, that's I don't know. I can't say enough about this game. Again, we got rid of it and got it back, and now I'm happy that we did because I enjoy playing it a lot. It's just our type of game. It plays wonderfully at 2, and I don't know if it plays just this good at the other player counts because I've never done it. Maybe other people have. You can look on YouTube and find others talking about it. And the only thing that I think I could even find fault with this game is this one large landscape tile has 2 icons on it. One is orange, one is yellow, and they happen to be on the rocks on this picture. So it's a little difficult to see those. Just that one. The rest of them are very vivid, very clear. And then also if you happen, like I was sitting here and I really can't see the icons on the front landscape tiles right here, so I'd have to do this type of thing. You know, it didn't bother me. It's not enough to, you know, those little things that bother some people don't bother me. Everything about this game I love. Again, I can't recommend it more highly than I am right now. It's going to be in my Ultimate Top 100 for next year when I do that video, because again, we can play this game in an hour and even less, and it's just so much fun to do so. So I want to tell you about it, and that's Tang Garden. I hope I covered everything, and I'll see you next time. Okay, everybody, that was the games for today that we played this week, and I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope that you got something, a little more something out of them than doing just those top 10s or top 100 lists, because again, I'm able to show you more in that regard. Please like and subscribe. When you take the time to like our videos and then make a comment, that's our payday. We don't get paid for any of this until you guys tell us what you think of our video. And thank you so much for that. Have a great day, and I'll see you the next time on The Bones Collector. And remember to keep on board gaming because it is the best doggone hobby on the planet. Bye-bye.